Joe Biden delivers the 98th State of the Union address. And you say, wait a second. There's been a whole lot of more years than that. Yeah, but before FDR, it was called the annual message, and most presidents sent in a printed form, and it wasn't in a speech. And oh man, I wish we could go back to that. I wouldn't lose sleep. I could really get more into it, but no. So since FDR, it's called the address, and they all give these ridiculously long speeches, which brings me to the beauty of last night. Another enormous social first for the Biden administration. And they're big into that stuff. They got the first, female black vice president, the first transgender as, Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services, the first gay Secretary of Transportation, the first gay, lesbian, black who is press secretary, on and on. Well, last night, check this out. This is the first time in American history that an 80-year-old president has delivered the State of the Union address. Wow. And I must say, if I were grading him, I would give him an A+ on the speech, not for content, but for his ability to stand there for almost an hour and a half and do that when you're 80 years old. That's phenomenal. Yeah, he was mumbling and fumbling, but he's 80. What is wrong with us electing these old guys? I just don't get it. The mantra for the night, he said this several times, was finish the job. We have to finish the job, mainly talking about the economy. Mentioned 12 million jobs that he created, which just drives me insane. He doesn't remember we went through this COVID period where everybody lost their jobs. So most of these people are just going back to work. He talked about unemployment, 3.4%. This number is the worst number ever. I've always said this. It doesn't even include people who are not looking for a job, people who are unemployed, not looking for a job. We have a real problem, by the way, with white men right now. He talked about COVID was the reason, or COVID was referred to as COVID shutdowns. That's where the supply chain problem came from. Sorry, Joe, government shut every door of every business. So it's government's fault that we had all those shutdowns. And then, of course, he brags continually about reducing the deficit. And this one, I don't even understand what in the world he's talking about. And he used the number 1.7 trillion last night in deficit. That's the exact number of the omnibus spending bill they just recently passed. I think he probably mixed up those numbers. Here's what I know, and you'll have to explain to me what the heck he is talking about. Last year, 2022, the government brought in 4.8 trillion in revenues, and they spent over 6 trillion. That's deficit. What is he talking about? And then, of course, the PRO Act, which I didn't even know what that was. Had to look it up. That's just another Democrat effort to force unions onto private companies. You know what? You get stuff like, hey, you can't fire anybody for any reason, and you're forced to fire people if they don't pay union dues, among other non-freedom-loving, non-American stuff. And then, of course, that great comment, we're still going to be needing oil for about 10 more years. Listen, not even going to touch that one. You can soak in that one on your own. But the great news, 80-year-old president giving the State of the Union address.